for everybody. So the government actually looking at how we can control the birth rate, and I think it's actually a good one, looking at the fact that we're also looking at taking the census maybe very soon to know how many people so far are in Nigeria right now.
Yes, and you know, we have all these adverts even on our radio and television station on different birth control pills for families, and how to regulate, and also that's the family planning, and how to regulate the rate at which you give birth. You know, even in the Bible says when you give birth to children you can't take care of, it is a sin. So looking at this and how it can help us in our economy, because having too much children and they're not being taken care of, you know, how even the standard of education, we know the standard of our education, we know the issue and the rate of insecurity. So it's even good on the part of parents to give birth to the number of children they can take care of.
Exactly. Other stories still from the Daily Independent. Casualties feared after oil vessel explosion near Warri. The big story, Northeast. Iswa fast gaining ground, recruiting massively. This is coming from the governor of Borno, Zulu. With the rider, once Boko Haram will be a child's play if ISWAP grows. Ask the federal government to reconsider hiring machineries to fight insurgents. Federal government uncovers 96 financier of Boko Haram and ISWAP. PDP tasked federal government to publish names of terrorism sponsors. And to say I'm totally in agreement with that. It's, yes, you have gotten the names, and I think this name was given to us since last year. And I don't know why we are holding those names back as if we are trying to protect the image of those people. I don't think they have any image to protect if they have been going about killing people, going about causing havoc. And here we are seeing the governor of Burkina coming out to say, if it means for us to hire foreign machinery to help us, let's go ahead and do that. And if something is not done fast about the ISWAP, they will gain ground just like the Boko Haram. It's already 13 years since Boko Haram have been causing havoc. Just yesterday, while I was watching, the numbers of people that were killed in Borno, Yobe, and even those that are out of school were displayed, and it's quite disheartening to see. Students can no longer go to school, farmers can no longer go to farms. Our economy, we are even having foreign investors that are beginning to threaten to withdraw from Nigeria. Why? Because their lives are not safe. Are we going to concentrate on the ISWAP, Boko Haram, or are we going to even look at the ritualists that is now gaining ground, or are we going to look at Yahoo? Lots of things are happening and gaining ground in Nigeria, and if we don't stand up and do something about it, we are giving them a field day to go about, play and do whatever they feel like doing. So I am in support that whoever or who are the people that are involved in this, they should be exposed. They have nothing to hide, Tosi. You know, this is really getting me very angry and disheartening that I'm a citizen in Nigeria and yet I can't go about doing things. You want to get into a tricycle, you're very scared because you don't even know who are the people involved. Kidnappers here and there. So I think it's something the government should look into this, because I know I'm speaking on behalf of Nigerians out there that don't have a place to speak for themselves. They don't have a place to explain their grievances. Lots of people, we have widows, we have orphans here and there. So I take a place and do something fast about this before we all, because you know, just like the Bible says, when Mordecai told Esther that if she doesn't do something about it, it will get to her. I don't want that to be the case of Nigeria. So let's do something about that.
Obviously, let's do something about it. And looking at this issue of the financiers of Boko Haram, this is not news, because last year we had United Arab Emirates reveal the names of 6 people that are financing Boko Haram. And now we have 96 people again financing Boko Haram. You can see that with all these people financing Boko Haram is not dying anytime soon, because people are being patted at their back, because people that are financing these insurgents in this country, insurgents in this state, and you know that this is disrupting the peace in our country. But you say all this issue, they are being swept under the rug. They are not even exposed, all those people that are financing Boko Haram. And obviously the government know about these people. Why try to cover their secret? Expose them, just as you said. Let them be exposed. Let them face the full wrath of the law, because what they are doing is not of help to our country. And this is not the first time individuals have been airing their views on ways that these people can be exposed. Even Kuka spoke about it, that we need foreign machineries. If we can't fight issue of Boko Haram on our own, we should invite foreign foreign hands to help us fight this issue of insurgency. But what did we do? What did we see as a government? We backlashed him. We backlashed those people that even said we need help as a government on fighting insurgency, because on our own we cannot fight this issue of insecurity. You can see insecurity is giving birth to so many things in our country. Just like you've mentioned, we have the ritual act, kidnapping. We have the Yahoo, because now they don't just do the Yahoo ordinarily. They use it. It goes hand in hand with Yahoo ritual plus activities. Definitely. So many things are happening all under insecurity. Look at the prison break. So many things, Sele, are happening. And looking at our country, we are no longer safe any longer. If you don't have securities behind you, you are not safe. Then what happens to the common man who walks on his own, who believes only in God for protection? Something needs to be done on this issue of those that are financing Boko Haram, because if they are not exposed, Sele, if these people are not exposed and if they don't face the full wrath of the law, then Boko Haram will continue, and it have come to stay. But if only they are exposed, if these people, no matter who they are, either in the government or the government authority, the federal level, whatever level they are, if only they are exposed, then you see that this thing will die down. But if they are being patted behind, then it will continue to give birth to so many things, and they will feel relaxed and they will finance Boko Haram. So if you watch amateur videos of the activities of this Boko Haram, you see the way they use for sophisticated weapons to attack communities. We had in Katsina and even in Zamfara, where they collect levies from people. Sele, you can imagine the gods these people have to even collect levy to tax people, even tax the government. They say they need so and so from the government, and the government will give it to them, and even these communities will give it to them. Just early this week, even the communities that they pay levy to this Boko Haram, they were still attacked. Their community was still attacked. So you can imagine that these people now, they have this boldness because they have the strong backing. Because if you don't have strong backing, you can't do all those things. If you don't have strong backing, you won't have the guts to do all these things that these people are doing. Look at the weapons they are using. How did they get these weapons? And if later on they are tagged Boko Haram, they are tagged that they are non-educated person using that kind of sophisticated weapons, and they write letters to people, they write letters to communities, they write letters to school. How are you educated to that level to even write letters to communicate to people? Something needs to be done, because without that strong backing, they won't have these gods, they won't have the effrontery to go this wild and even be bold to do things they are doing. If only these people can be exposed. Last year we had 5 people that are financing Boko Haram, and now we are having 96. So you can see that not just like a multiplication of 5, but you can see that it's now a business in our government. Why? Because even if these people say they need money, they pump this money to them. You can see that even Boko Haram now is another sector that have enough money to do so many things because of the levy they collect, and even the way the money they collect from the government. Because you can see that on fighting insecurity, the government will pump money, and those are the people that still pump it back to this Boko Haram. So something needs to be done. If these people can be exposed and they face the full wrath of the law, then we know that Boko Haram will die soon. But if they don't face the wrath of the law, and if they are not exposed fully to the last, then Boko Haram have come to stay.
Exactly. So the rule of law needs to take its place so that we can enjoy our stay in Nigeria. Where are the stories still from the Daily Independent? 2023 presidency crisis as Tinubu swagger TSG clash over harmonization. Other story here, 2.4 billion fraud charges. Okorocha asked Buhari to stop the EFCC from harassing him. You want to know detail of that story? You can check the Daily Independent, page 29. Bandits attack Katsina community, kill village head and 5 others. Kwara government shut down school over hijab crisis. Gunmen attack Erisu Bosola campaign office in Oshubo. And the last story I'll be taking here, tight security as Buni inaugurates APC state chairman. Detail of that can be found on page 7. That's all from the Daily Independent.
And moving to leadership newspaper, Nigeria losing major investors to escalating oil theft. Fresh Sukuk fund raises federal government capital, releases to 3.65 trillion naira. And 3 die, 12 missing as oil vessel explodes in Delta. Trinity Spirit FPSO, a floating production, storage and offloading vessel, allegedly exploded, causing raging fire and fear and threatening fishing activities in some of Nigeria's riverine communities in the Niger Delta region of the country. According to sources, a loud explosion was heard a few minutes to 1 a.m. on Wednesday morning. Also, that the vessel produces crude oil and is situated around Meren, a Northfield oil facility belonging to a multinational oil and gas company with the name withheld in the Excravos area of Warri, Southwest local government area of Delta State. The explosion allegedly caused serious fear among workers manning nearby oil facilities and fishermen in the area, who were still helplessly watching the raging fire at 7:50 a.m. when this report was filed. FPSO raging fire, one of the workers present said the explosion is a threat to Nigeria's ecosystem. We have to look at it from the point of whether it's an active rig or not. Its content matters, irrespective of whether it's an active rig or not. The fact that it has exploded is a threat to fishing in Nigeria's riverine communities. That the explosion is a content are already spilled in the waters around communities close to where it exploded, and that means no fishing for these communities. How long are we going to continue with this trend? This is a loss to our riverine communities. That means they cannot fish due to this explosion. What could this mean for the surrounding residents, as the water in this main source is the main source of livelihood? This could mean a possible pause or even stop in economic activities in the area, which fishing occupies the top seat. You can see this explosion that happened in Delta State, and we see this report where it's affecting the ecosystem and affecting the fishing activities, because when you look at these places, their daily activities more of fishing. That's what they used to take care of themselves, take care of their family, and even make life meaningful for them, because they use those to keep themselves occupied and keep themselves busy, even with the things that are happening in our country. And you know that they have this festival of these fishing activities. So now we can see that with this explosion, there have been spillage in this oil, and definitely with all the spillage, those fishes in the river will definitely die. So what happens to the faith of this community that are facing this issue at this point in time? Something needs to be done. There should be speed intervention, because they can't be left alone like that. How do they go about to do their normal activities? So like a community where they solely depend on fishing activities, and the fishes now are dead, what will happen to them? They need intervention from foreign agency and even from the government. So something needs to be done, and we need to hear the response of the government concerning this. And also we need to see that they've been intervention in this Delta community, so that these people will not be left to die just like that. Because aside the insurgency, poverty, hunger is another thing that kill people very fast. So we should not hear the story that hunger and poverty is killing them. When you talk about poverty, they are on another level of poverty, definitely. So hunger should not be another thing that will kill them. We should hear the intervention from the government. If there are responses concerning these people, if there are funds that are raised concerning these people, it should go to the right direction. It should go to them. It should not just stop in Abuja. It should not just stop on the table of those people there. It should go back to this grassroots level. It should go to them, and they should receive this fund so that they can make life miserable and they can move around their normal activities. And still on the Leadership newspaper, the big story says APC plunges into deeper crisis as factional groups reject new state excos. The rider says excos inaugurates without oaths of office. Arabeshola's campaign office attacked, and it's an exercise in futility. We won't recognize Kanazuru leadership, says Alero's supporters. We are still consulting, coming from Lai Mohammed's loyalists. Benue, Niger factions head for court. Federal government nabbs 45 of 96 Boko Haram ISWAP financiers, says insurgents have link with 123 companies. You can see what we are saying. Insurgency is having links with 123 companies in our nation. Something needs to be done very, very fast, because if we want to fight insurgency soon, then it should start from now, because you can't fight insurgency in few months time when we have this kind of people in our country, when we have this kind of people that have strong backings. We have these people that are financing insecurity and financing the insurgency. So if we want to tackle insecurity very soon, then it should start from these people. They should be the scapegoat, and they should be used as example, so that even those that are thinking of going into that business, because now in our country insurgency have become a business.
Exactly.
Those that are thinking of going into that business, they will step back and know that yes, for these people to be used as scapegoats, irrespective of who they are, then it will be a halt to them.
Exactly. So you took the word out of my mouth. You need to set an example with these people so that they will know that we are not out to play. We are actually out for business.
Yes, and Governor of Maiduguri, Borno State is saying Zulum retreat call for mercenaries to fight terrorists. And that's all the news on Leadership newspaper.
All right, let's move to the business, which is National Economy newspaper. Federal government releases 3.7 trillion naira for capital projects in 2021. The big story: tough times ahead as petrol subsidy payment rise by 1.5 trillion naira. With the rider, Nigeria's economy on the brink of collapse, and this is coming from experts. Other stories still from the national economy: PIA reps to transfer asset of defraud NNPC to NNPC Limited. Detail of that story can be found on page 5 of the national economy. Dangote's auto company kickstart vehicle assembly in Nigeria, and detail of that story also can be found on page 4 of the national economy. If you're interested in any of this business news, you can grab the national economy and you can read detail on that. That's all from the national economy.
And on Voice of Liberty, federal government uncovers 96 Boko Haram and ISWAP financiers. Bandit kill village head, 4 others in Katsina community. And the Governor Babagana Zulum of Borno State is saying Boko Haram will be a child's play if ISWAP is allowed to grow. Amechi deserves our traditional title, says Emir of Daura. The big story here: APC inaugurates ESCOs for 34 states in Abuja, excludes Kano and Sokoto. Newly elected chairman issued certificate. After about 5 hours delay, the caretaker and extraordinary national convention APC yesterday inaugurated state executive ESCOs of the party for 34 states and the Federal Capital Territory ahead of its February 26 national convention. The party, however, excluded Kano and Sokoto states. Social media regulation: NBC, DSS can request user detail without court order. And Okorocha reports EFCC to Buhari over harassment. Senate Deputy Minority Leader dumps party, defects to APC, meets Buhari. And that's all the story on Voice of Liberty.
Okay, moving on now to the New Telegraph. World Bank: inflation pushes 12.8 million Nigerians to poverty, with the rider rise in food prices to claim more. And really, too, so just like we're saying, we're not actually very far from the detail of the paper that says that we're looking at the figure here: 12.8 million Nigerians into poverty. And just as the government is looking at how they can regulate the birth control, also they should look at how we can also boost our economy when it comes to food. I've said this times without number, and I'll keep repeating it: we're giving oil too much concentration. We need to look at other resources that we have in the nation that can also contribute to our GDP, and also make sure that we liberate lots of people from poverty, because poverty is killing people more than other things. I mean, more than corruption, more than any other thing you can talk of. So when we are able to tackle poverty, when people are full, toasty, the rate of crime will definitely reduce. But when people are hungry, definitely that is not an excuse whatsoever, but then that will drive them to do whatever they need to do to make sure that they have what it takes. So I think the government should look into this, and also individuals should look at what they can do to also, help. Don't just sit and depend on the government, private institution, NGOs. Everybody's trying to put their hands together. So we should not sit and just wait for the government to do everything, but we should also see what can we do to see that go back to the farm and do something, and also contribute to making that food is in circulation. Other stories still from the New Telegram. Capital budget execution rises to 3.4 trillion naira, and detail of that can be found on page 25 of the New Telegram. The big story here: terror war. Federal government uncovers 520 Boko Haram Iswa financiers and also associates. Says 156 firms, BTCs involved too. EFCC sues 2,220, conviction, ICPC 66. Anti-draft agency recovering large sum of money from the government. Islamic State leader Abu Ibrahim El-Shira killed in Iraq. This is coming from the US. Other stories: 2023, Babalola advised Nigerians to consider age, health and others in choosing their leaders, which is very paramount. Delta 2023, Ibori meets Tombolo, relocates to Asaba over anointed successor. Federal government to reap 50 billion naira from Onitsha River Port concession. Other stories still from this: IPOP list condition for peace with the federal government. If you want to know these conditions, you can check page 6 of the New Telegraph. 2023, Ohaneze insists on president of Igbo extraction set up action committee with the rider zone has people with them. Amid Tinubu, Ozibanjo Aminet role, Buhari men plot South-South candidates. 2 former governors on APC rider, and also the Southeast already has support of Afenifere, the Middle Belt and Ariwa. And also the last story here: young marijuana smokers risk recurrent stroke, and this is a study and a warning to those who are involved in that. And that's all from the New Telegraph.
Thank you, Sally. Moving to the Punch newspaper. Workers' fate unknown as explosion rocks Delta Oil platform. And this story can be found on page 5. Kano, Sokoto absent as APC inaugurates state chairman amidst heavy security. Ohaneze inaugurates lobby panel, restates Igbo presidency's benefits. And NIN same linkage. Security agencies get Buhari's nod to assess subscribers' details. Zulum warns against ISWAP threats, insists on hiring mercenaries. Rep subsidy, refineries repair, panel may invite NNPC and its marketers. The big story on the Punch says PDP Chief Security Officers lampoon federal government as NFIU uncovers 96 terrorism financiers, with the rider saying 123 firms, 33 bureau de change operators linked to terrorists, federal government alleges. Terror financiers, supporters will be revealed in court, says AGF office. With transparency verdict, Buhari can boast of fighting grafts. And this is coming from the PDP. Kwara Baptist School shots as fresh crisis erupts over hijab. In a protest by parents of student prevented from wearing hijab at Oyun Baptist High School, Ijabo, Oyun local government area of Kwara State. It was gathered that hoodlums unleashed terror on peaceful protest as the school, who were protesting against the January 17th decision of authorities of the school to prevent hijab-wearing Muslim pupils from gaining access. In a move to douse the tension, the Kwara State government ordered the immediate closure of the school, while directing that hijab or beret wearing should be made optional in all grant-aided schools. The report that these were made known by the State Commissioner for Education and Human Capital Development, Saadatu Modibo Kawu. Kawu said the state government totally condemns the resort to violence in the government-owned Ayun Baptist Secondary School, Ijabo, on Thursday. This is totally unacceptable. The state government unreserved condemned the flagrant act of discrimination against anyone, especially children, on religious ground. Such discrimination will not be tolerated in any public-owned institution in the state. While the government and the security agency continue to work with leaders on all sides, it hereby directs the immediate shutdown of the school pending resolution of the issue. The government commends the security agencies for their prompt action that has restored calm in the area. The government calls on them to investigate and bring to book anyone linked to the violence as deterrence to others. The government appeals for calm as violence brings nothing good. So they're looking at this issue, the crisis that the hijab wearing and even beret wearing have caused in school, especially in Osun State and even in Kwara State. If it's not part of the school uniform, why use it? If it's part of the school uniform, then you can use it. But thank God that there is an intervention from the government with the school, so something needs to be done so that if beret wearing and hijab wearing is part of the school uniform, then they should use it. But if it's not part of it, then they should dress normally and appropriately as they're supposed to dress to school. When you get back home, you can use it, or even after the closure of school, you are logoed as New Oluibadan. Courtroom overcrowded as Ogun teenage killer arraigned and remanded. Abekoya threatens to free Igboho through traditional means. And this story can be found on page 8 of the Punch newspaper. Tension as hoodlums attack Arebeshola's faction secretariat. Suspects arrested. Police smash Lagos-Ibadan highway kidnap syndicate. Gang members flee. And this is a very good thing. You can see the actions the police are taking, because we've been having this kidnap and this kingpin staying along this axis of the Lagos-Ibadan expressway. But here the story is that police have smashed them, despite the fact that some of the perpetrators and those that they work together ran, but an action is being taken. So we still commend the security, and we say they should still put in more action so that they can fish out those people wherever their hideouts are, because they are disrupting the peace in those axes, and even people are scared to move along those places because of kidnap activities and even theft along such places. While the last story on the Punch says Okorocha meets Buhari, alleges harassment by EFCC, politically motivated. The details on page 8 of the Punch newspaper. And that's all for the Punch this morning.
Okay, moving on now to The Nation. Hijab rule resurfaces in Kwara. Detail of that can be found on page 2 of The Nation newspaper. Osun APC governorship primary holds February 19th. Nigeria reject coup as means to change government. Another story still from The Nation. Zulum wants on Iswa threat to Nigeria. And the writer following that said the federal government to arrange 45 for sponsoring terrorism and 96 Boko Haram bandit financiers uncovered. The big story here says Buhari reports lobby to shift APC convention date with the rider. No venue in party notification letter to INEC. State chairman inaugurate. Ohaneze, Igbo not interested in leaving Nigeria, with the rider Apex body raises panel on the 2023 president. And there are still other stories still making the headline on the Nation newspaper. So if you're interested, just grab the Nation newspaper and you can read detail of the stories.
Thank you, Sele. Before we continue with the paper review this morning, we'll be right back after this timeout. Welcome back. Still on from the dailies on Equa Television. We've been looking at stories that are making headlines on our papers. The fourth day in the month of February 2022. I still remain Owola Bitosin and I'm reviewing alongside Sele Elisha. And moving to Daily Sun newspaper, Nigeria, UK strengthens security defense partnership, vow to fight terrorism, build regional security. We are open to peaceful negotiation with federal government and other nationalities. This is coming from IPOB. The big story says federal government uncovers 96 terrorism financiers, arrests 45, says 123 companies, 33 bureau de change, 424 associates also involved. NFIU identifies 7.647 trillion naira VAT, WHT hidden from governments. Zulum raises fresh alarm on Iswa spread in Borno, says group will be deadlier than Boko Haram if not crushed. 3 feared dead, others missing as FPSO vessels explode in Delta waterways. And Buhari launches revised population policy, moves to address high fertility rates. Afebua writes Atiku supporters insist ex-VP too old for 2023 presidency. And Sukuk, Akpabio secures over 10 billion naira for East-West Road. APC notifies INEC on February 26 National Convention, with details in page 3. And on 2023, Igbo presidents will save Nigeria, coming from Ohaneze in Dibo, forms non-partisan political action committee. And downside of the Daily Sun, gunmen attacks Arebeshola's Oshun house, with details on page 7. And we have a picture story here where we can see Governor Dapo Abiodun of Ogun State with Deputy Noimot Salaka Oyedele and the Executive Secretary, National Health Insurance Scheme, Professor Nasser Sambo, State Commissioner for Health, Dr. Tommy Koka, and the first beneficiary who was delivered of a baby under the State Basic Health Care Provision Fund Program and Ogun State Informal Health Insurance Scheme, Mrs. Kafaya Yekini, during the launch of the program at the June 12 Cultural Center, Kufo, Abeokuta, and this happened yesterday. And that's all for the Daily Sun newspaper.
Okay, moving on now to the Al Jazeera, and the big story screaming here: terrorism. Federal government links 123 coins to Boko Haram and Iswa, with the rider identifying 96 financiers. Says trial of terrorism supporters to begin soon. Fresh attacks in Katsina communities, village head killed. APC writes INEC confirms February 26 convention dates. Power shift attack on Wiki uncalled for, says the PDP board chairman, with the rider Rivers governor position popular. CBN to back leads Benue farmers over loan defraud, and detail of that can be found on page 27. Successor, don't overheat politics, Governor Emmanuel warns. One dead over hijab clash in Kwara schools, and detail of that can be found on page 11 of the Al Jazeera newspaper. Then Pharaohs face Chariga Lions in epic AFCON finals. And for our sport lovers, you can check page 16 of the Al Jazeera to read detail of that story. And that's all from the Al Jazeera newspaper.
Thank you. On the Nigerian Tribune, on kidnapping, police bust 12-man gang terrorism travelers. Police bust 12-man gang terrorizing travelers on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. And all Ibadan kingmakers unite, renominate Lekon Balogun as next Olubadan to forward name to Makinde today. The big story says federal government links 123 companies, 33 bureau the change to Iswa and Boko Haram. On 2023, Ohaneze set up Political Action Committee, insist on Southeast Presidency. Okorocha reports EFCC to Buhari over harassment. And one feared killed in protest over use of hijab in Kwara schools. The presidency, when a candidate is or not qualified by Afe Babalola, and this editorial can be found in page 28 of the Nigerian Tribune. And we have a picture story here, the Oromia house, that's where hoodlums attacked Arebeshola campaign office, which is the Oramian house. Iswap can take over Nigeria if unchecked now, coming from the governor of Borno State. Governor Babagana Zulum of Borno State have warned that the Islamic State West Africa province, ISWAP, is growing and can take over the country unless something is done to stop them now. He made the declaration while appearing on the weekly ministerial briefing organized by the Presidential Communication Team at the Presidential Villa, Abuja, on Thursday. According to him, the terrorist group, which he said is becoming more educated and sophisticated, is massing up in Borno State, exploiting its closeness to the Sahel region. Zulum noted that unless something is done quickly to stop them, the Boko Haram insurgency will be a child's play compared to what ISWAP can do. He therefore called for examination of fund made available to the military, the manner of recruitment into the armed forces to stop undesirable elements from gaining access, and retooling military strategies to stop ISWAP from growing in a greater monster that will further imperil the security of the country. Still on Nigerian Tribune, APC convention, Buni committee finally writes INEC on February 26 date. The rider is saying tight security as party inaugurates 34 state excos, Fabemi for Kwara State, Omodewa for Oyo, Sanusi for Ogun, Famodun for Oshun, Danfulani for Zamfara, given certificates of return. Boni silence on Kano. And the full details can be found on page 28, and that's all for Nigerian Tribune.
Okay, moving on to the Guardian newspaper. APC inaugurates 34 state chairmen as Buni states away. Boko Haram may be child's play to ISWAP, Zulum warns the federal government. Amechi Malamisu over alleged illegal award of 91.7 billion naira Dre contract to Chinese firm. Only 2% of Africans vaccinated against the COVID-19. You want to know more about that? You can check page 4 of the Guardian newspaper. Moving on now to the international news. CNN ethical challenge that brought down its president. You want to read the big story? You can check page 20 and 21 of the Guardian newspaper. 1 year after NIN SIM policy, insecurity scams Fister. And there are other writers that are following that story. Bandits, kidnappers collect ransom in millions. Nigerians may lose an SIM swap, fraudsters empty banks and accounts. Another writer still under that story. No security operative has asked for database info to rescue victims, Paitami claims. Then NIN issued hit 73 million as enrollment centers crosses 4,000. And that's all from the Guardian newspaper. If you're interested in any of the stories, you can check the Guardian newspaper and read detail on that.
And on this day newspaper, ECOWAS to deploy stabilization force in countries under threat of military takeover. Oshibanjo democratic election, only way to government change. In major setback for oil production, Shell defers expansion work on 225,000 BPD Bonga oil field. And still on 2023, PDP yet to take a decision on zoning presidency, Nwodo insists. APC formally informs INEC of February 26 convention dates. And the governor of Borno State, Zulum, we must defeat Iswa at all costs, else Boko Haram will be child's play. Says it's time to consider hiring mercenaries. Canvasses change in security agencies' recruitment process. Government track identifies 96 financiers, 123 companies, 33 bureau de change, others involved in terrorism. And on PIA, House moves to transfer defunct National Oil Corporation assets to NNPC Limited. And we have some picture stories on the front page of this day newspaper. Do well to visit to look out for stories that interest you.
Okay, moving on now to the Daily Trust newspaper. The first story here, Dangote Kaduna Peugeot Assembly rolls out new cars. World Cancer Day, patient lament treatment gaps in Nigeria. Lea Arizobosola Yeri certified back as APC inaugurates state schools. And the big story here, federal government links 96 persons, 156 crores to terrorism financing. With the rider families of BTC operators protest in Kano. Northeast lost $6.9 billion to insurgents. This is coming from the governor of Borno State, Zulum. Says the Boko Haram child's play if Iswa is allowed to grow. And here is the figure of the losses in 13 years of the Boko Haram insurgent in the Northeast and the money spent, which is about $6.9 billion, which is 3 trillion naira lost to Boko Haram insurgent in the Northeast, 5,000 classrooms destroyed, 800 municipal building destroyed, including the local government secretariat, prison, and traditional rulers' homes, among others. 716 power distribution lines destroyed, 1,600 water resources vandalized, and we can see the figure goes on and on and on. I know Tosi like giving us the figure that is maybe an estimate, possibly is actually more than that. And if they have done this harvest, just like I said earlier on in the show, I said we really need to stand up and be on our feet. The rule of law needs to take its place. We really are celebrating democracy in Nigeria. Then nobody is above the law. If you have done something, the law needs to take its place. The justice system needs to be operating in Nigeria, because we can't just sit down and watch. Just look at what has been destroyed: classroom, local government, power resources, and yet here we are complaining about going for a bill for water resources. So I think it's something we really need to do something about if we really want to enjoy Nigeria in the next 4 to 5 years. I mean, what country are we giving to our children? Are we giving them a flag stained with blood? Are we going to be proud? I think we need to go back to our national anthem and the pledge on what we said. Because if really our heroes in the past should look at the Nigeria they handed over to us, they are going to weep with blood, Tosi. So I think newspaper 2023, Kwankoso in tight corner with 3 options. Other stories still from this paper: Nigeria need to address high fertility rate, and this is coming from the President Buhari. 18 killed and 3 injured in Yobe road crash. This is a sad one. Our condolences to the family. 4 family members found dead in Abuja poultry farm. Still another sad story here. And that's all from the Daily Trust newspaper.
And on the Vanguard newspaper, we have an encounter with a 16-year-old student who said, "I was kidnapped, trafficked for sex in 4 countries." This is talking about human trafficking. And here, power sharing, social injustice frustrating Nigerians' development, coming from Ohaneze. Nigeria needs urgent measures to address high fertility rates, coming from President Muhammadu Buhari. And 1 killed, 4 others injured as hijab protests turned bloody in Kwara. Stock market records 891 naira new listing in January. The big story on terrorism, Iswa poised to take over Nigeria, Zulum warns. Beg Buhari to hire mercenaries, demand accountability in military spending. Federal government names 553 as terrorism sponsors, flaunt anti-graft war blessings. Says 45 terrorism sponsors set for trials. Blames rising insecurity in rural Nigeria on financial suffocation of local governments. Finance Minister presents 250 billion naira sukuk check to Fashola, Akpabio and Bello. Bandits kill 3 policemen, abduct village head, 4 children, others in Niger. And the convention, we are ready. APC writes INEC. Oshibanjo men's upbeats. Boni not seeking to be APC chairman. And on 2023 polls, appoint only credible people into INEC. 70 chief security officers urge Buhari. And also talking about this, is not only in INEC that they need to appoint credible people in all sectors. Appoint credible people and people that are ready to work. Because you see that when you go to all this federal organization, you see people sleeping by this time, Sele. You see them under the tree peeling melon, gisting. They are not doing anything. So not just in INEC alone, appoint credible people. And now we can see that the governor of Borno State is talking about having people snitches even in the military. When you see, okay, he's my brother, let me put her or let me put him in the military. They are not credible. They are not willing to do that work. Why put them? Later on, they are the ones that are giving the Boko Haram or the Iswa information that the military, when they have different means and measures to fight insecurity, you see that people amongst them will go and tell all this terrorist group on what they have planned. So you can see that all those people, we need credible people in all sectors, not just in INEC, but even in the military and all sectors in our country. Because when we have people that are ready to work and credible people in those places, then we see that we work towards the growth of our country, but not working towards ways we can see that our country will be down and to fall and collapse one day. 13 crew members missing at Sepcol oil production vessel explodes. And PIA reps move to transfer defunct NNPC assets to NNPC Limited. And that's all the story on Vanguard newspaper.
Okay, moving on now to sports. AFCON 2021 is Arsenal Egypt's final. Pharaohs eliminate Lions 3-1 on penalties. Napoli rejects 47.4 billion naira Newcastle offer for Ishimen. Real Madrid make first attempt to land Landed with the rider. He's not welcome at Bayern, and this comes from Muller. And other stories still from the Sporting Sun newspaper. Man City regrets signing Grealish. Another story here, Wenger to join Zidane at PSG. There are others very interesting sport news here on the Sporting Sun. So for our sport lovers, you can grab the paper, you can read details.
Down to Man City and Madrid. My problem was with Arteta, and then Dennis out, Ekong back, Etibo doubtful, Kalu could make debut, and Saka nominates for Men Young Player of the Year. It's Mane versus Salah's final after Pharaoh defeat Lion on penalties as AFCON closes on Sunday. Cameroon versus Burkina Faso in third place show. Man City Chiefs preferred Khan over Grealish. And new coach divides Ghana ahead of Eagles clash. And yesterday we had a match between Egypt and Cameroon. And we know they had 0-0, but with the penalty being played, Egypt scored 3 while Cameroon scored 1, and which automatically means that Cameroon is out of the game. And you see that, and despite the fact that they are playing the game in Cameroon, but they are out, but still in the spirit of sports, there's no hitches attached to it. We should accept all with good faith, and it's another measure that this Cameroon team should walk in and know how to play more. Although they played well yesterday, but they should walk in and know how to attack their opponents, and how they can attack opponents when they have match to play next time. So it's really good, because when you watch the ball yesterday, they tried their best, but that is the spirit of ball, that's the spirit of football. Next time we need to see more effort in the Cameroon team.
Yeah, it was actually a tough one for them to end in 0-0 until the penalties, but then actually it's a good one, just like you said, in the spirit of sport. There's no hitches, no beef, nothing whatsoever, but just to see how you can new strategy on how you can play better and to also win. Okay,
that's all for Sporting Life.
Okay, let me take the last paper for today, which is the Blueprint newspaper, and I'll start with the big story. Federal government uncovers 96 Boko Haram sponsors and 424 associates. With the rider 124 cloys, 33 buried the chain linked with terrorism. We have lost over 6.9 billion naira to $6.9 billion to insurgents. This is coming from the governor of Zulu. Police bust kidnaps syndicate in Lagos. Suspect admits supplying food drinks to kidnappers on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. And the story of the hijab. Kwara shut down school as Muslim-Christian parents clash. Sanwo-Olu launches ASWIP initiative for the less privileged. This is really a good one coming from the governor of Lagos State. And other stories here. Cholera kills 175 in Kaduna in 2021. This really a sad one. The government and the local government should look into making sure that cholera doesn't do that havoc any longer. Onitsha Port concession to generate 50 billion naira connect Lagos and others. The FCT polls no election in 593 polling units, and this is a figure coming from INEC. And also the last story here, federal government to recoup $4 billion lost yearly to oil thieves. And detail of that story can be found on page 22 of the Blueprint newspaper. And that's all from the Blueprint.
Thank you, Sele. Thanks for doing this along with me. And I leave you with this, our viewers. If you really want to do something, you will find a way. And if you don't want, you will find an excuse. On behalf of all of us in Equa TV, we say thanks for watching and have a blessed weekend.